What's up, welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here, another podcast. What's going on in pop culture right now? Another pretty solid, action-packed pod this week. We have new music from Tzuyu from Twice, her solo debut, as well as his new K-pop girl group on the Black label, Meow from Teddy Park. A lot to get into with that one. Also, Fred Again's fourth album, 10 Days. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is here, one of the biggest movies of the fall. My Brilliant Friend is back on HBO for its fourth and final season. Oh, and by the way, we have to do our 2024 Emmy predictions, so a lot to get into. Make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/nostalgiapod, linktree.com/nostalgiapod, see links below. Get the best of 2024 Spotify playlist linked below. Let me know it's good. Let's get into it. What's up, welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a concert review of Niki's Buzz Tour. I saw Niki perform in Boston at MGM Musical. That was night 2 of the Buzz Tour, which is Niki's largest tour of her career to date, just kicking off in North America this month. Will go around the globe into next year. And of course, this is in support of her latest album, Buzz, an album I absolutely loved and reviewed as well. Check the link below if you missed that. I had never seen Niki before, but as a big fan of her music, I was very much looking forward to seeing her show. And honestly, I gotta say, Niki was excellent live, and I think one of the most favorite things that you can experience at a concert for me happened seeing Niki's Buzz Tour, which is the fact that Niki, in the presence of a live band, songs of hers that I don't necessarily love as studio recordings actually sounded better, sounded more fun and more engaging in a live experience with that band. I think that's just the best possible thing where the music is even better live. Niki actually made a point of saying that this new album was written and created to be performed. You could totally get that vibe, but honestly, that was even the case for her older music as well. Overall, it's a 90-minute show. She does about 23 songs, give or take. And from what I've gathered, since the Toronto first show and me seeing the second show, the set list at least has a little bit of variability. Obviously, you can look up the set list at this point. A lot of this sequence is pretty locked down. But there does seem to be some things she's switching up, show to show, which is, of course, fun and something that's come pretty in vogue lately. Look at the Eras Tour. It's a way to get your fans to engage in the tour, day to day in terms of figuring out what changed, what was different, right? The Boston show, funny enough, the track 8 or so, Niki played Strong Girl, and she introed it by saying that that's actually a song she started to write last year when she was in Boston playing at a much smaller venue, the Royale. And she was having a difficult time and just kind of put pen to paper and started to make that song. Pretty cool, Boston performance specific anecdote. Overall, it was really fun to just go to the Niki show because no one's casually going to her show, I would say. She is famous and successful and is doing great numbers and is a big artist at this point. Obviously, look how big this tour is going to be. But everyone there was a big fan of hers. So a lot of the big songs were really big in the room and really popped. Track 3 was Back Burner, which is one of her biggest hits in terms of streaming numbers from her album Nicole, and people lost their shit when that was played. Right after that, she did Focus off Buzz, one of my favorite songs of hers she's ever made, which was great. Love to hear it. And then after Focus, she does a melody of Loki. Of course, Loki was the breakout Niki song, the first big hit of hers, but it's from her first era of music, and she's kind of spoken to not being the biggest fan of her older work. And obviously her sonic genre evolution has been pretty noticeable album to album, as we know. Yet she still kind of played low-key in almost like a jam band setting in a melody sense. So I think that was a fun kind of way to fit it into the show, because obviously people still love the song, but she didn't spend as much time on it as maybe she would have in the past. Pretty clever. I thought Blue Moon off the new album sounded even better live. That was a song that I thought was just fine, just okay on the album, but hearing it live, I really enjoyed it. Too Much of a Good Thing was the opener. I think that's a really lively song to start off the set. Could just say La La Lost You, another big hit of hers, but a slower song. But man, people, again, were super into that song. It's just kind of a sing-along, moment, even though it's a sadder, quieter one. Same thing with Oceans and Engines. The end of the show, I kind of had a sense of where it was going. We have High School in Jakarta, which is probably the biggest, most lively song she plays in terms of call and response lyrics with the crowd. Super fun to be with that. But she's bouncing around. The band is jamming out. It's fun, like making that song, which is a big song, I love. Like it was in my top 10, 2 years ago. Love that song. But like making it even more lively when performing it was super cool. And then after that, she does Tsunami, which I wasn't expecting. And then the very last song is Buzz off the new album, the title track, which is great. What that means, though, is that Niki did not perform every summertime, at least when I saw her. That's a pretty intentional decision because that's also a big hit of hers. And it's also not that old, so I was kind of curious why she wouldn't have included it. Because people love that song. It's super lively too. It's it's not like it's like an immature written song or anything like that. That was one of my top 10 songs as well when it came out. 2021. Maybe the fact that that's a song that got buried on the Shang-Chi soundtrack has something to do with it. Like the fact that she doesn't feel full ownership of it or something. I'm not sure. I was just surprised not to hear it. Nonetheless, shout out Niki. I think she was great live. If there's like one note I have, this is not a criticism at all, but the fact that it was only night 2 of the tour, you could kind of tell her like banter with the crowd in between songs wasn't super rehearsed. She's kind of just going off the cuff, but it's fine. She's genuine. She's a great live performer. She switched her guitar like a million times. I counted at least 3 different guitars she used. There might have been more. I couldn't quite tell the difference between all the electric guitars, but that was fun. Also, as a vocalist live, I think she does a really good job. She's pretty adept at staying within her range. She's not like Ariana Grande of singers or anything like that. She doesn't have this like super powerful voice, but she very much knows how to sing her songs live, and that's just a great sign of a great performer. Also, I was a bit surprised that this show was not sold out despite being on a weekend. I'm not sure what was up with that. Like even college is in session, so the people are around, but like there was a lot of. It's probably like 2/3 full. I was a bit surprised, but it's also a big venue. These are like the biggest venues she's playing, so I'm sure there'll be some variability of that as she tours around. Certain shows will be denser than others. Nonetheless, big success for her. This is going to be a massive tour off of her biggest album to date as well. And I'm sure given the length of this tour, we're probably not going to get an album until 2026, I would imagine, because she's going to be so busy with this tour and perhaps writing new music along the way. But yeah, if you've seen the Buzz tour, you're looking forward to seeing it, let me know what you like most about it. Again, check out my review of Niki's Buzz as well as her past albums on the channel. And for more concert reviews, more music reviews, subscribe. I'll see you next time. What's up, Welcome Back Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Meow's debut single, Meow. Meow with 2 V's is the new 5-piece K-pop girl group debuting on the Black Label, the sub-label of YG Entertainment. The Black Label is run by, of course, Teddy Park, the long-running, established super producer over at YG, working with Big Bang, but of course most famously Blackpink. And this is the first group to actually debut on the Black Label. The Black Label's been around for a minute, but really they've taken on soloists and people, as part of groups doing solo work. Of course, Rose from Blackpink has signed on to continue her solo career at the Black Label, for example. Nonetheless, Meow is coming at, I think, a pretty confusing time, honestly, in the sense that there's a lot of competition for the young girl group space right now. We've been talking about that a lot with debuts this year from people like Badville and, of course, all the established favorites over just the last few years. Even over on the other side of YG, we have Baby Monster, which beat them to market by about a year, but has been very successful with the most watched music video of the year thus far. I'm curious about how Meow will be able to stake a claim and find a lane in this very crowded space. Despite the backing, I think it's a lot to ask. I'll be curious if this becomes a bit like what happened at High between New Jeans and Illit, where you have 2 seemingly competing groups under the same, umbrella label, and they're also making very similar music. My biggest concern with Meow specifically is that their music does not stand out that much beyond the very familiar trademark YG sound. Teddy Park being behind this group makes a lot of sense when you listen to this debut single. The YG house style, we know it well. Combination of vocals, I think smooth rapping, even a dance outro by the end of the song. You know the formula, and it's been a very successful formula. Again, look no further than Baby Monster. I feel like a broken record, but once again, I hear strong vocals, compelling energy from the members trapped within really backward looking vision. I hear potential here, and of course it's only the first song. Look no further than Baby Monster. Batter Up was criticized for its derivativeness. I certainly was critical of it. they've come on with more songs and a bit more variety, and I think have really established a fan base. Meow could certainly do that. I think it remains to be seen. We have to hear it. This is only the first song, but for now, I'm just very curious about like the competition here. Like, can the market really sustain this many groups competing in this space? And even though we have some sonic variety between these groups, I mean, between New Jeans and Seraphim and abouTZU and Illit and Baby Monster and now Meow and groups on smaller labels like Bad Villain and of course IVE, right? Not to mention holdover groups that are still here like Blackpink and Twice. That's just a lot of artists, and I think on one hand that's what makes K-pop so fun is that the music continues to come out at a breathless pace and keeping up with it is half of that fun. On the other hand, looking at the Black label thus far, they haven't been the most active label, which also I think speaks to YG in general. So I think their work is certainly cut out for them to help Meow to sustain them to the same way that Baby Monster got to this year. We'll see. But let me know, what did you think of this debut single? Did it branch out beyond its concept to you? What did you think? And for more music reviews, more K-pop reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up, welcome back, Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Tzu유's debut solo album, abouTZU. Of course, Tzuyu, the youngest member of Twice, and now the third to go solo, following, of course, Nayeon and Geo, and the second solo we've gotten this year from Twice, following Nayeon's second solo just a few months ago, which I like quite a bit. Tzuyu, I haven't really thought about her as a soloist all that much, just because I think she really much like blends into the ensemble sound of Twice, and understandable given how many members are in that group. Nonetheless, given how successful Twice is, hearing a solo is certainly intriguing at the very least, so I'll take what we can get here. I was quite surprised with how much I like Tzu유's debut album, abouTZU. Like, I think for the 6 songs, 19 minutes we spend with this, I got, I think, a much fuller picture of what she can be as an artist. And I think all of these songs actually really work a lot. The lead single, Runaway, very upbeat, super dancey, fast-paced rhythm with these piano melodies. That stands out vocally to me a lot more than she has on any of the Twice music we've ever got. And is anything groundbreaking about this music sonically? No, I think it's still in the general spectrum of the Twice sound, but I think it's pretty compelling. Heartbreak in Heaven honestly reminds me a lot of Nayeon's No Problem, in the sense that both of them featured a male K-pop vocalist from a different label, this time featuring Penil of BTOB. Also, interestingly, Chuyu's nationality comes into play here, in the sense that she's writing music, thinking about music, and singing music in Korean, Chinese, and English, 3 languages. And you get all of that on this. Track 3, Lazy Baby, a bit of a different speed from the first 2, but I still love the keys, like the drums. I don't think the chorus is as great as some of the other songs, which I think are super tight. The chant doesn't really do much for me, but the verses are still pretty fun. And I think that PH1 feature has like really good flow and then fun harmony, which you at the end. Losing Sleep, the drum hits are pretty great. Honestly, One Love I also thought was pretty solid. And then I honestly was most surprised with the closer, Fly. It's a bit slower, as you'd expect. I love the strings, and it still has a pretty fun rhythm for like the slower like ender of the album. You usually don't get that with stuff like this. So I thought that one worked quite a bit. So does this compare, I think, to Nayeon's solo work? I don't think so. I think that's just a bit more ambitious in terms of changing our perceptions of her as a vocalist in this big group, and also just kind of what it's doing production-wise. But I think like this is a really solid like first effort from a soloist. I think a lot of them come and go for me, but I think more than anything at this point I was like, let's keep these coming. Like, when's the Jaeyoung solo coming out? Like, let's go. Because this, I think, really surprised me. I just wasn't expecting it to be like this. But yeah, let me know, what did you think of Tzu유's solo album, abouTZU? What was your favorite song? What most surprised you about it? Were you pleasantly surprised like me? Let me know. And for more music reviews, more K-pop reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up, welcome back, Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Fred Again's 4th album, 10 Days. Fred is back with another full length. Hasn't been that long technically, because he released his Lucy's USB compilation earlier this year. But really, this is the first Fred Again album to come out since I think the blow up really completed. Actual Life 3 was kind of as things were cooking back in 2022, but man, since then, I mean, Fred again is by far, I think, the most in demand electronic artist right now, just from I think a cultural interest sense, a critical response sense. Look to him being the first electronic artist to headline Reading and Leeds earlier this year. Think about Fred's, I think, iconic viral Boiler Room set recently. Of course, getting a Best New Artist Grammy nomination, which I was so happy to see. The behind the scenes producer to fully public facing artist transition is complete for Fred. I think some people might forget that he originally was a big time producer for big acts like an Ed Sheeran, like a Stormzy, and he's still doing that kind of work. But now, like, I think he almost has this like cult like status in terms of just how quickly he's risen. Of course, I can't forget the iconic last minute announced Madison Square Garden set that Fred, Skrillex, and Fortet all performed. I believe that was at the end of last year, again, somewhat recently. And the train just feels like it's not going to stop. What impressed me most about Fred Again's fourth album, 10 Days, is the structure. 20 songs, really 10 full songs, and 10 30-second interludes delineating the 10 days. It's a pretty fun concept for an electronic album. Of course, Fred again has blown up largely in part to his unique production style involving, I think, really eclectic sampling has come to be. But now he's actually really working well with others. Almost all of these songs have features. Because Fred will often loop and really pulse with the music, I think the sample light songs from him actually kind of require vocalists. And thankfully, this album, towards its conclusion, gives us, I think, one of the best songs Fred's ever made with Peace You Need, with the Joy Anonymous vocals fitting that piano line like a glove. That song with the loop, the vocal hook, the bass at the end, absolute knockout. Of course, this album also features 2 singles that were big hits for Fred already. Places to Be, featuring Anderson .Paak and Chico, with a really high tempo, one of the highest energy songs he's ever made. That song's really taken off. I think it's fantastic as well. Adore You, track 2, also has come on for him as well. It's fun to hear him with someone like Sampha on Fearless, just because it starts subtle and is really just Sampha vocals. I was quite impressed with the song 10 as well, because Jim Legacy does his best Drake impression, like singing like croony Drake, like it's like Take Care era singing Drake vibe. I think that song could be his next big hit. Like, I think that one's an instant smash, honestly. Glow also stands out, just the looping, like it's really like propulsive yet still kind of soft and like smooth, but like the way he's able to build momentum and tempo in his songs, I think, is really special, and that's what makes his music really catchy. And I think with Fred, like, I think the reason a lot of people are excited about him, critically speaking, is like he's one of the electronic artists that's making like really, I think, really listenable, like listening experience albums. It's not purely for the rave. It's not purely for dancing. Like, and of course, you can certainly do that. People will. Like, it's very dancey. It makes you move, but I think it's also like really well constructed and produced and sequenced, and it's just like a fun album experience too. So this is pretty cool. It's been fun to see him kind of transition out of the Actual Life trilogy into the, era before this with songs like Leave Me Alone, which became a big hit, and now into this with 10 Days, where he's definitely smoothed out, and we have less samples in a certain sense, but I think less samples and more actual guests is kind of a nice trade-off. So I'm sure we'll get plenty of samples again in the future. But let me know, what did you think of Fred Again's fourth album, 10 Days? What do you think about his maybe next step that he's taken with this album, and in terms of leaving the really eclectic sampling behind, at least for now? What do you think about that? And what do you want to hear from Fred next? Obviously, I would love him to like go on tour in the US. For starters, he has not toured with much regularity in the US. He's played here, obviously, but that would be cool for starters to like actually like be like a full artist and go on tour. Of course, a lot of DJs don't do that. They just kind of play various clubs and whatnot, but it would be cool if Fred's able to even do some kind of like club tour. I know we don't really have the club scene here the way they do in Europe, so it makes sense that we haven't really had it happen, but I want it to happen. We'll see. Let me know what you think about Fred Again's 10 Days, and for more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up, welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of My Brilliant Friend Season 4. This is the fourth and final season of the drama series adaptation of Elena Ferrante's Neapolitan novels, specifically adapting Book 4, The Story of the Lost Child. Season 4 premiering on HBO, actually ahead of the Italian broadcast on RAI. The past seasons, it actually came out in Italy before it premiered on HBO. That is a change for this final season. Also notable change is that the cast has changed as the characters have aged up for the first time since the first season. Elena Greco is now being played by Alba Rawalker, and Lila Cerullo is now being played by Irene Meorino, solely based on appearance compared to the younger, actors they're taking over for. Spot on. They definitely look like aged up versions of Lila and Lenu. Also new this season is director Laura Bispuri from Italy. She is directing the entire season. As My Brilliant Friend concludes its run with season 4 on HBO, the fact remains that this has been one of the more underappreciated, underwatched great series of the last handful of years. Elena Ferrante book readers have long said the show is a strong adaptation. I can't personally speak to that, but what I can say is that I think it's a great character show. Set in the backdrop of post-war Italy in the 50s, we've now progressed quite a lot of time with these characters, and we're approaching the late 70s during a very turbulent time in Italy. The strength of the show is the fact that it's really all character, it's all conversation. Plot in this show is really just the progression of emotions and relationships. Very much one of those shows that, like, the journey, the ride, the evolution of the characters, and your time spent with them, it's like a great argument for like the TV format, I think, is a show like this. And that's despite the fact that this is a very serialized show, pretty straightforward in its storytelling, very much focused on its two leads. That is how this show works. Whether it was lucking out with casting inexperienced young actresses that really shined in their roles, the fact that we're actually filming in and around Italy, it's a great show, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing this season 4 premiere. I mean, nothing too special about it. I think it's pretty gets to a solid spot. For a while I was wondering if we were going to get much Leela. You finally get her at the very end of the season, sorry, the episode, but like in a really monumental way in terms of her revelations to Lenu about Nino and Nino's just fuckboy status. I think all that was done really well. The verbal fight between Lenu and the grandparents of her kids on, her baby dad's side. I thought that was done really well. Just like I think the emotional stakes of this show are often done quite effectively. It was cool to get, I think, the brief like Nino conference scene where you get another highlight of like what's going on in Italy and the presence of the Red Brigades and stuff like that. And of course, early on in the episode, the like really hard to watch fight between Lenu and her mom, who's been chastising her behavior and her relationship with her husband in terms of Nino and things like that, because we've spent a lot of time with Elena's mom throughout the course of the show. She's an actress we recognize. Like, that's a really hard scene to see. But overall, yeah, like I don't really have like expectations for like where it's gonna go or anything like that. Again, I haven't read the books. I don't really know. I can guess. I suppose, but more than anything, I think it's just seeing the journey, and I'm not expecting like payoff in every character or anything. It's really just about the two lead characters, and how I think because they're so well drawn again from the source material, like the divergent paths they've gone on in life, which is established very early on in the series, those divergent paths and the fact that they still come back around to each other, and the fact that they're both able to teach each other something about life and meaning and things like that, right? From two really different perspectives at this point. Like, I think that emotional richness is how the show quite shines. But yeah, very much looking forward to seeing season 4 conclude. Let me know, what are you most looking forward to seeing about My Brilliant Friend season 4? Have you read the books? If so, let me know. And for more TV reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. What's up, welcome back, Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the sequel to Tim Burton's Beetlejuice from 1988. It's been 36 years since that surprise blockbuster film came out. The original Beetlejuice, of course, put Tim Burton on the mainstream map in a certain sense. His second film, featuring Michael Keaton, a young Winona Ryder, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, Catherine O'Hara, and on a $15 million budget, grossed $74 million back then, which would be almost $200 million today. Beetlejuice is a film that I think rightfully earned a Oscar for Best Makeup and Hairstyling and got a lot of love for its craft, particularly its costume design and its use of puppets and, clever ways to produce the underworld and whatnot. And the sequel, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, coming out so long, it's funny because this is a sequel that had been in development hell and in development stages basically the entire time we've been waiting. And it certainly makes sense that Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is finally here because the Legacy sequel, is a successful use of IP these days, right? And I think Beetlejuice Beetlejuice has a lot in common with some of the most successful aspects of the recent Ghostbusters reboots, Afterlife and Frozen Empire. It's really cool to see that Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is going to debut with over 100 million domestic this weekend and be the biggest film of the fall until Joker 2 comes out. Big part of that, of course, is the huge added value element of adding Jenna Ortega to this film, ingeniously being the daughter of Winona Ryder's character, taking one of the biggest Gen Z stars, period, in Ortega, between Wednesday on Netflix, also co-starring in the Scream films recently. She is a massive star, and this only further cements that status. I also think it helps that Winona Ryder's, career has re-jump started again later in life on the back of Stranger Things. It's honestly coming at a great time. And thankfully, I thought Beetlejuice Beetlejuice was quite successful. I think as far as legacy sequels go, there's always going to be safe elements, perhaps craven elements of, oh, look at the reference and look at the obvious homage and nostalgia play and whatnot. And of course, that's here. And of course, if you're a fan of the original movie, that will make you feel good. But I think Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, just for what it is, honestly works really well. The addition of Jenna Ortega fits the series like a glove. I think she's really great in the movie. Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice is once again underutilized, just like the original film. There's some superfluous elements to the movie, like Monica Bellucci's entire character, even Willem Dafoe. But I think just broadly speaking, I really just enjoyed the ride. I thought it was a lot of fun. The framing of the whole film, I think, is quite clever and quite similar to Ghostbusters Afterlife, again, in the sense that going back to the old house, the original house, in the fictional Connecticut town that the original movie takes place in, a great example to, get the gang back together, get back to things, see the model up in the attic, things like that. The film does a good job early on of establishing the strange dynamic between Ryder and Ortega. I also really enjoyed the idea of taking Ryder's Lydia character and having her actually become, a small celebrity and have a ghost show in adulthood. And she's soon engaged to her producer, played by Justin Theroux. And Theroux, of course, a newcomer to the series, he does a great job of being this unbearable presence throughout the movie and a lot of source of good humor as well. I mentioned Monica Bellucci before, who plays the ex-girlfriend of Beetlejuice. And this is a character that really exists only as a plot device and has really nothing to it at all. Did not have to be in the movie in the slightest sense. Of course, Tim Burton and Bellucci's real-life relationship perhaps factored into some of this. Similarly, Jenna Ortega's character, I think, kind of cleverly gets matched up with this potential love interest who eventually realizes actually a ghost. And I think these two elements right here remind me a lot of the second Ghostbusters reboot, which of course was less successful as a film, in the sense that the bad guy in Frozen Empire is very much like Monica Bellucci's character. Shows up in the last 10 minutes, nothing really happens, you don't really care about it. And then another romantic subplot regarding dating a ghost. I actually think if we spent more time leaning into Ortega's fraught predicament when the ghost tries to fuck her over and take her life and have them trade places, I think we could have used more time with that because he's also kind of dispatched of quite quickly at the conclusion of the film. Nonetheless, I think the zaniness, the kind of uniqueness of the original Beetlejuice, that spirit is still here, even if perhaps this film's a bit sanded down. Of course, Beetlejuice is pretty crass, you could say almost non-PC in the original movie. Nothing super overt, but that's part of his personality and character, and that's still here in this film. It was actually probably more present than I was expecting. Willem Dafoe is pretty funny as this ghost actor playing a police commissioner, police detective. He's really fun in the movie, but also pretty superfluous, not really that important. But overall, I think the afterlife stuff works pretty good. Catherine O'Hara is fun to be back with again. She has, I think, a nice, fun supporting role in the film. I couldn't help but notice that Burn Gorman plays a small role as the preacher, the priest in town, just because he had a really small role on Game of Thrones. That's pretty memorable in the early seasons. I was like, "What? This guy of all people is the friar?" Funny enough. But yeah, Beetlejuice. Like, I think it's this great confirmation of Jenna Ortega's star power. Honestly, like her bluntness, her side eyes, her trite mannerisms and whatnot. It's on full display in this movie. I think she's really great. Just she's a really charismatic young actor. Of course, it'd be quite exciting to see her outside of some IP stuff. Wednesday, Scream, Beetlejuice 2. She hasn't done anything super big that's been original, but I'm sure that's cooking, because she is pretty talented as well as being super famous. So more to come there. Also, would not be super shocked if they kick the tires on Beetlejuice 3, to be honest. It kind of makes sense. Beetlejuice, the actual chant being the title of the third and final film. We'll see how well this movie does. It's probably going to be more of a domestic play at the box office. Not going to be quite as big overseas. Again, kind of like Ghostbusters. So we'll see. But yeah, let me know. What did you think of Beetlejuice? Did you think it was a successful legacy sequel like me? Let me know. And for more movie reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. What's up, Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with my 2024 Emmy predictions. The Emmys will air on January 15th. I, of course, gave my nominations predictions earlier in the year. I reacted to the actual nominations, so I've covered who actually got nominated, who didn't, the snubs. I already talked about that before. Please check that video out if you missed it. But now it's time to actually talk about who will win based off who actually got nominated. So I'm going to go through the big three categories: comedy series, drama series, and limited series, as well as actor, actress, supporting actress for those three categories as well. So I'm just going to stick to the big stuff there. I'll go through all the nominees and then who I think will win and why. Of course, let me know who you think will win, as well as who you want to win based off who's nominated. Please let me know. Let's start with Outstanding Comedy Series. The nominees are Abbott Elementary, The Bear, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Hacks, Only Murders in the Building, Palm Royale, Reservation Dogs, and What We Do in the Shadows. Pretty good field for the most part. I think the battle here is between The Bear and Abbott Elementary. Remember, this is The Bear Season 2, so not the most recent Season 3 that aired earlier this year. The Bear Season 2, of course, critically acclaimed, critically adored. I think that will be more than enough for this to sweep as a result there, but perhaps The Bear Season 3 not being quite as warmly received could color some voting. As a result, I think Abbott is a slight threat, but I think The Bear's going to win. It's really not that complicated, and I think this is going to be a trend with my predictions, but the Emmys, unfortunately, seems to really, lately, voting trends-wise, seems to really focus on a smaller number of programs getting a lot of nominations. We've certainly seen that the last few years, and that also kind of sticks to, like, programs kind of running it up and less people winning as a result. Like, the wealth is not spread as much anymore, and you'll certainly see that with my predictions. So Outstanding Comedy Series is going to be The Bear. What about Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series? We have Matthew Berry from What We Do in the Shadows, Larry David from Curb, Steve Martin from Only Murders, Martin Short from Only Murders, Jeremy Allen White for The Bear, and DeFaro Winatai from Reservation Dogs. It's going to be Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. Don't overthink it. That one's locked in. Outstanding Lead Actors in a Comedy Series. We have Quinta Brunson from Abbott Elementary, Iowa Debary from The Bear, Selena Gomez from Only Murders, Maya Rudolph from Loot, Jean Smart from Hacks, and Kristen Wiig from Palm Royale. So this one, I think, is between Io and Jean Smart. Quinta Brunson, I think, is in the mix, but I think running behind those two. And if The Bear is, in fact, as strong as I expect it to be, this is going to be Io. But I think it's important not to completely rule out Jean Smart, who has also won this category before. But we're going to go with Io Debary here. Her performance as Sydney, especially in Season 2, tremendous, as we all know. Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. We have Lionel Boyce from The Bear, Paul W. Downs from Hacks, Evan Moss-Baccarat from The Bear, Paul Rudd from Only Murders, Tyler James Williams from Abbott Elementary, and Bowen Yang from SNL. This is going to be Evan Moss-Baccarat, Richie, cousin from The Bear. Really exciting win. It's going to be sick. Well-deserved. That'll be awesome. I don't think there's much threat to him in this category at all, to be honest. It's incredibly safe. Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. We have Carol Burnett from Palm Royale. We have Liza Colin-Zayas from The Bear, Hannah Einbinder from Hacks, Janelle James from Abbott, Cheryl Lee Ralph from Abbott, and Meryl Streep from Only Murders. Meryl Streep, of course, an awards darling, but lately she only gets nominated. She doesn't win anymore. Keep that in mind. Cheryl Lee Ralph did win this recently, lest we forget. And Liza Colin-Zayas, Tina from The Bear, really great in season 3. Could that color voting, even though this is for season 2? I'll lean against it, but just wanted to bring it up. I think this is Hannah Einbinder for Hacks. Feel pretty confident about that, but we'll see. I think this one could be a bit of a surprise. It could be one of the Abbott ladies. Moving on to Outstanding Drama Series, we have The Crown on Netflix, Fallout on Amazon Prime Video, The Gilded Age on HBO, The Morning Show on Apple TV+, Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon Prime Video, Shogun on FX, Slow Horses on Apple TV+, and Three Body Problem on Netflix. I think it's a pretty good category, actually quite good. Just about everything should be here. The only, I think, big demerit is The Morning Show being here, honestly. The question is, does The Crown win here, or is Shogun completely running the slate here? I think before Shogun came out, people would have predicted The Crown this year. Of course, we're in a post-Succession, in between Last of Us and White Lotus time for drama series, so this was a year that this was winnable for multiple series. But let's be real, Shogun on FX is the best show of the year, and thankfully, the Emmy juice is behind the show, so it's going to get the glory it deserves. I can't wait for that. It's so sick that this is going to happen. Related, Outstanding Actress in a Drama Series. Outstanding Actress in a Drama Series. We have Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon from The Morning Show, Carrie Coon from The Gilded Age, Maya Erskine from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Imelda Staunton from The Crown, and Anna Sawai from Shogun. I want to shout out Maya Erskine here once again. She was tremendous on that show. In many other years, she would be the best pick. That would be an awesome win. But the correct pick and who will win is Anna Sawai as Lady Mariko from Shogun. I'm so excited about this win because I've been a fan of hers for a little bit now, between this and Pachinko and other stuff she's been in. It's really exciting. And yeah, she's going to win. It's so well deserved. Outstanding Actor in a Drama Series. We have Idris Elba from Hijack on Apple, Donald Glover from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Walton Goggins from Fallout, Gary Oldman from Slow Horses, Hiroyuki Sanada from Shogun, and Dominic West from The Crown. I think in a year, if say Shogun didn't have the juice, it's a harder one to predict. Maybe you'd lean Donald Glover, maybe you'd lean Dominic West, hard to say, but it's going to be Hiroyuki Sanada as Toranaga from Shogun. Again, super well deserved, really cool. Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, we have Tadanobu Asano from Shogun, Billy Crudup from The Morning Show, Mark Duplass from The Morning Show, John Hamm from The Morning Show, Takahiro Hiro from Shogun, Jack Lowden from Slow Horses, and Jonathan Pryce from The Crown. This one, I think, is harder to completely pin down. I think it's between Tadanobu Asano and previous winner Billy Crudup. Jonathan Pryce, another year, perhaps he's more in the mix, but yeah, as much as I want to pick Asano, I feel like Crudup has a lot of juice in general. I don't understand why Apple's so successful in pushing The Morning Show at the Emmys, because it's not a good show. And Tadanobu Asano, not quite as famous in the US. Certainly not as famous as Hiroyuki Sanada. Nonetheless, I'll go with Tadanobu Asano as Yabushige from Shogun. Another great performance, great supporting performance specifically. So, yeah, maybe it's a little wishful thinking, but that's where I'll go. Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, we have Christine Baranski from the Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, we have Christine Baranski from The Gilded Age, Nicole Beharie from The Morning Show, Elizabeth Debicki from The Crown, Greta Lee from The Morning Show, Leslie Manville from The Crown, Karen Pittman from The Morning Show, and Holland Taylor from The Morning Show. That's a great example of what I'm talking about, where that category is only representing 2-3 different shows with 8 nominations. It's just not acceptable. Honestly, these are... We can't have 4 people nominated for the same show in the supporting category. It's very stupid. The supporting category should be where we're able to recognize a less heralded show for some great element of it in the acting category. But no, that's not what's happening. It's a frustrating problem. Shout out Greta Lee being here. I've heard her morning show performance is not quite as strong as her amazing work in Past Lives last year. I think this is pretty confidently going to be Elizabeth Debicki in The Crown, her portrayal specifically of Princess Diana, and I think that one's pretty locked in. That leaves us with Outstanding Limited or Anthology Series. Nominees are Baby Reindeer on Netflix, Fargo on FX, Lessons in Chemistry on Apple, Ripley on Netflix, and True Detective Night Country on HBO. Good field, for sure. I think if I had to pick something, I think the best pure show on this is Ripley. Shout out Fargo's consistency. Don't feel like it has much award juice at all, unfortunately. Also, though, True Detective Night Country was pretty successful, like restart of True Detective. But what's going to win here is going to be Baby Reindeer, just because it's the phenom of the year on Netflix's part and came out of nowhere. And also, I feel like Netflix is pushing Baby Reindeer for the Emmys more than they're pushing Ripley, even though Ripley is also one of their shows and a better show, but it doesn't feel like that's going to happen. Now, we should factor in Baby Reindeer had controversy in terms of its portrayal of the truth and presenting things as true or inspired by real life that weren't really true. I wonder if that colored voters. I wonder if that colored the campaigns at all. I'm not sure. But it's the most recognized, limited series show this year. So I feel like it's remaining the favorite, but important to, I think, note that there has been some. And thus, I'll still pick Baby Reindeer to win. So that leaves with Outstanding Lead Actor in Limited Series. We have Matt Bomer from Fellow Travelers, Richard Gadd from Baby Reindeer, John Hamm from Fargo, Tom Hollander from Feud, and Andrew Scott from Ripley. Similarly, I think probably objectively, Andrew Scott would be an awesome pick here, even John Hamm for that matter, but it's going to be Richard Gadd from Baby Reindeer. I'm pretty confident in that one. Again, it just feels like Netflix is pushing that show more. And also, Andrew Scott kind of came up short with awards voting recently, of course, with the Oscars, where he didn't even get through to get a Best Actor nomination for All of Us Strangers. That's kind of in the back of my mind as well. Outstanding Lead Actress in Limited Series, we have Jodie Foster from True Detective, Brie Larson from Lessons in Chemistry, Juno Temple from Fargo, Sofia Vergara from Griselda, and Naomi Watts from Feud. I think this one, like Brie Larson, probably in another universe was a really good pick for that, but Lessons in Chemistry was not that successful as a show. I think it's pretty obviously going to be Jodie Foster, the best part of the new True Detective. I think that's pretty well earned. Outstanding Supporting Actor in Limited Series, we have Jonathan Bailey from Fellow Travelers, Robert Downey Jr. from Sympathizer, Tom Goodman-Hill from Baby Reindeer, John Hawkes from True Detective, LaVaughn Morris from Fargo, Louis Pullman from Lessons in Chemistry, and Treat Williams from Feud. So this is one I was more confident in, when I talk about the nominations, right? Robert Downey Jr. from The Sympathizer on HBO, playing like 5 different characters. It's a really good performance, honestly. It's quite showy as well, very awards friendly. And that's where I had been leaning. I saw a lot of predictors, though, this year go with Jonathan Bailey from Fellow Travelers, which is a Showtime show, which I haven't seen. And you also have a Baby Reindeer nomination here, which should be acknowledged. But I'm still going to go with RDJ's star power, even though he probably won't even attend the Emmys. And lastly, that gives us Outstanding Supporting Actress in Limited Series. We have Dakota Fanning for Ripley, Lily Gladstone for Under the Bridge, Jessica Gunning for Baby Reindeer, Aja Naomi King from Lessons in Chemistry, Diane Lane for Feud, and Callie Reese from True Detective. I like Callie Reese's performance. Shout out Lily Gladstone getting the nom here after coming up just a bit short at the Oscars for Best Actress. Dakota Fanning, nice to see that nom. But I think this one also pretty easily is going to be Jessica Gunning from Baby Reindeer. Controversy aside, just feels like Baby Reindeer's got it. So yeah, that's all my picks. Just to recap, here are my 2024 Emmy predictions. Best Comedy Series, The Bear Season 2. Comedy Actor, Jeremy Allen White from The Bear. Comedy Actress, Ayo Edebiri from The Bear. Comedy Supporting Actress, Hannah Onbinder from Hacks. Comedy Supporting Actor, Evan Moss Baccarat from The Bear. Best Drama Series, Shogun. Best Drama Actor, Hiroyuki Sanada from Shogun. Drama Actress, Anna Sawai from Shogun. Drama Supporting Actress, Elizabeth Debicki from The Crown. And Drama Supporting Actor, one of the harder ones, but I'm going with Tadanobu Asano from Shogun, although Billy Crudup from Apple is, I think he could win, but I'm going with Asano. Limited Series, gonna go with Baby Reindeer on Netflix. Limited Actress, Jodie Foster on True Detective. limited actor Richard Gadd from Baby Reindeer, limited supporting actress Jessica Gunning from Baby Reindeer, and limited supporting actor I'm going with Robert Downey Jr. from HBO's The Sympathizer. Let me know who you want to win. All right, that's going to do it for the pod this week. So next week I'm going to be off, partially because of, personal life things, but also it's actually a super quiet, pod week, certain sense. The only thing I'll be, catching up on really from, last week, next week would be the Emmys, who actually wins, and Agatha All Along, the Marvel show premiering on Disney Plus. So I'll be recapping that, of course, and also following week we'll be talking about HBO's The Penguin, Transformers 1, new album from Jamie XX, very exciting, new album from Katy Perry, a lot less exciting. I'm sure some other stuff will pop up. So make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/nostalgiapod, linktree.com/nostalgiapod, see links below. Get the best of 2024 Spotify playlist linked below. Let me know it's good, and I'll see you soon.